Hello, I wanted to do this video to be a little bit more private and to explain you and to share with you the essence of Shambali and also the origins and my journey towards it. Actually, I was born in the north of France, in the suburb of a small city close to the border with Belgium, from an area quite modest, which is known for the richness of the heart of the local people. I had a very good education, and I'm grateful for my parents who taught me the notion of respect and tolerance and a lot of values. Since I'm a kid, actually, I feel connected to something higher that I could not explain, and some people put some words of expression like a universal soul or the primary source or whatever, but I was really feeling connected to this word, to something higher that I could not define. And actually, I was really sensitive and even hypersensitive, which is hard to handle when you are young because you feel vibrating the word through you, within you, and then I had the good and the bad energies as well. And simple example, I really remember in '84, for example, I've been traumatized with the pictures that I could see, the news with the famine in Ethiopia. And actually it was exactly that. I was feeling the suffering or the happiness of people at distance, actually. And I just discovered after, on my initiatory journey of life, that I was a channel, basically. I was a channel, a horizontal channel, that's to say a link in between the, let's say, the human beings here, down to earth, and also vertically, that's to say a connection, a link, like there is a lot in this planet, with the different spheres of consciousness and different parts of the invisible world. Well, when I was young, actually, I wanted to change the world, and I thought I had a mission to come here and to change things. And after a while, I just discovered through the cultures a lot of things, like Rumi said in the great Sufi poem, that actually, when I was young, I was clever, I wanted to change the world, now I'm wise and I change myself. And this is really what I applied after a while, because I knew that maybe changing myself was easier than changing the world. But since young, I had this feeling that there is something appealing me, and that it was Shambali concretely. And Shambali, it was vibrating already, and it dictated me and oriented me through my way to reach it. And now is the proper time, let's say. And at the beginning of my, let's say, career, I chose business because I wanted to enlarge my perspective of this small city and to discover the world, to discover the people, the different cultures, the different way of thinking, believing, behaving, and so on. And so I had the chance to visit almost 70 different countries, which has been probably my main source of richness and probably source of inspiration also with the different testimonies. And let's say that since young I was connected, and I've been baptized actually, and I couldn't understand the fact that there was one elected religion and the other people would have been in the wrong direction. So I started very young, when I was a teenager, maybe around 10 years old, to study most of the religions, that's to say Islam, Judaism, Hinduism, Buddhism, Taoism, Confucianism, Jainism, Zoroastrianism, and so on and so forth. And just to establish some similarities in between all of them, and to set up some bridge, and to realize that all of them had, let's say, they were converging in the same direction, let's say. And also I studied the esoteric part, that's to say the hidden part of the iceberg, which is the most important essence of the messages. But also I study through, let's say, the spectrum of science as well. my father being a great scientist. And I really wanted to put into perspective these two notions. And for me, they were not, let's say, a part of duality, but they were just two faces of the same medal. And let's say that there was a real complementarity. And this is exactly what we can realize right now. Well, actually, I had this chance to find this thing, which is the warmness, or let's say the inner, and then which is the springboard to the outer harmony. And then I embarked in my initiatory journey to try to put together the different pieces of the puzzle game to see the beauty of the masterpiece. And this fragment of it, let's say, it's the fruit of Shambali. And that's right, the methodology is based on that, let's say, the reconnection to the higher self of individual people, and to reach this, let's say, universal soul, and also this reconnection to the outer world, the environment that we have every day, and also the invisible part. Because I met so many people, let's say, with amazing career and so on, and just with the feeling that they were missing something. And this, let's say, missing part, this missing link, let's say, is probably this lack of linking things and the fact to be disconnected to our, let's say, deeper part and the outer world. So, without any pretension, Shambali now is ready to convey this notion of oneness, and also because more and more people adhere to it. The practitioner have, of course, the Shambali spirit, which is, let's say, a vision, a holistic vision of life, a holistic way of living. Let's say not always the head in the stars, but also the feet on the earth, of course. But it is a good balance of life. And you know, I could have stayed businessman and also professor for the transmission, and maybe my life would have been more, let's say, normal, or could have been easier. But I couldn't enjoy the bottle of champagne alone. I needed to share it. And that's why we launched Shambali, because the goal is really to help people to find themselves with giving them some different paths and different keys or example how to, let's say, shapen their own master key, because we cannot do for them. Everybody can do only for himself. Let's say that this is the first vocation, and the second one is the project of Benchmark. And initially I wanted to do charity instead of business, but I said to myself that my scope would be definitely less important than if I could wait a bit. So I did in private during these all years, and now normally the scope will be much more important. And actually the benchmark of the world is basically inspiring, let's say, the different good ideas that we have on the planet with the world heritage from the past, and also from now, let's say. And the goal is really to make them circulate through the center, but also beyond of that, because Shambali has no frontier. This is just a state of mind that everybody is welcome and can be a part of the game. You know, when I say to you that I wanted to change the world, it's probably because there is some improvement, and we, just a matter of fact, when we see the ecology or even the financial system. Personally, I've been professor of finance for many years for MBA students, so I know a bit, and this is just the quadrature of the cycle, and everybody with a certain degree of consciousness has the feeling that he cannot stay like this, and he cannot, let's say, continue like this. The goal is absolutely not a revolution, it's an evolution, and just the consciousness, which is the first step, that we need to let's say, to change step by step. You know, when you renew the world heritage, actually you take piece by piece to avoid to affect the, let's say, the stability of the monument. It's the same for what we want to do. There is no vocation to have the worldwide, let's say, scope, but at least in our humble scale, and also to create vocation with people, just to say and to realize, because most of the time we think that the change will come from outside, but it will never come from outside. It's always come from inside. And that's why we are just initiating the basics and what, for instance, Gandhi said, be the change that you want to see in the world. You know, for the system, I'm always comparing, and this is also true for the individual people, because there is always a notion of resonance in between the micro and the macro cosmic dimension, is the fact that the system is comparable to the caterpillar. You know, the caterpillar spends a large part of its life to feed a lot, like bulimic, in a bulimic way, and then it stops. And it just starts, when it reaches a certain degree of maturity, to mold or to transform, and then to become a butterfly. And instead of crawling, it is afterwards rising. We have this vocation to help people to lift their energy and to rise and to have better perspective and a better horizon. And also because with the butterfly effect, probably as you know, the butterfly beat can create a tornado from Asia to Europe or Western world. You know, in my different trips, I told you, around 70 countries, a lot of people say to me that my way of thinking was a little bit different. And I was neither Western or Eastern. Thereby, I think, in a certain way, I'm Westerners, which doesn't exist in a certain sense. The goal is really, through Shambali, is not a notion of individuality. It's just the fact to realize that together we are stronger. And this is just without any pretension. You know, it's probably a part of the little kid who is still vibrating and beating inside, but actually this project of Shambali, it is the inner child, that it is sleeping within each of us, and it just asks to be reactivated. And as the little prince say, turn your life into a dream and this dream into reality. Well, welcome to Shambali, welcome to home, and as we say, all the roads lead to Rome and to home. Thank you for your attention, and I really hope to see you very soon.